What's up guys, this is Ultimate Device Vids, and today in this video we're going to be discussing the iPhone 11 lineup in 2022 and why I believe these iPhones are the overall best value iPhones you can get for the price in 2022. So let's kick things off by going over some basic info about the iPhone 11 lineup. There's the standard iPhone 11, and then there's the two Pro models being the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. And as usual with recent iPhone lineups, they share the same key features with the same processing power in this case, with of course a few key differences between the standard iPhone 11 and the two Pro models, which we'll discuss throughout this video. All three phones feature the Apple A13 chip and 4 GB of RAM. Also, all three phones were released in 2019. The standard iPhone 11 has a display size of 6.1 inches. The iPhone 11 Pro has a display size of 5.8 inches, and the iPhone 11 Pro Max has a display size of 6.5 inches. So let's talk design. They all feature the basically edge-to-edge full-screen iPhone design with Face ID unlock, and of course curved screen edges, so very modern looking and feeling smartphones. All three iPhone 11 models feature glass backs, the standard iPhone 11 featuring a glossy glass back texture, while the 11 Pro models feature a matte glass back design that's pretty smooth and much less reflective. The standard iPhone 11 has aluminum edges, while the two Pro models have more shiny stainless steel edges. All are very comfortable to hold in the hand and feel very luxurious. In terms of cameras, all three iPhone 11 models have 12 megapixel wide and ultra wide lenses. However, the 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max feature an additional telephoto lens, also 12 megapixels, that allows you to zoom in and get super up close to a subject without losing much quality due to that additional lens. At the end of the day, all you really need to know is all three iPhone 11 models have fantastic cameras. And while the standard iPhone 11 does lack that additional telephoto lens, the reality is it's just not going to be that big of a deal for the average person. They all take super rich and detailed photos, as you can see with these few examples here. They also all feature the night mode camera, which allows you to take very visible and clear photos at night if you want to. In terms of the video camera, they all shoot up to 4K at 60 frames per second, which also looks fantastic. They also all feature the famous iPhone portrait mode that allows you to get that cool shallow depth of field effect in the background with a subject. And the front-facing camera is great too, also 12 megapixels, and that also has this neat wider mode just like that. The only major difference between the camera system on the standard iPhone 11 in comparison to the 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max really just comes down to the standard iPhone 11 lacking that telephoto lens. And once again, this is not going to be a big deal whatsoever for the average phone user. Next, I want to discuss battery life on the iPhone 11 models. Ever since the iPhone 11 lineup was introduced all the way up until now, good battery life is one of the best features of the iPhone 11 series. All three of the iPhone 11 models have great battery life. You're probably not going to have any issue whatsoever getting through a full day of normal usage. And of course, as I always say, your battery performance entirely depends on a variety of varying factors, such as obviously what you do on your device, the age of the battery in your device, any processes that you might have running in the background, etc. But again, for the average phone user with a decently new battery in the device, you're not going to have any issues with battery life on any of the three iPhone 11 models. Now, this being said, if you're planning on buying a used iPhone 11 model secondhand, I'd only recommend buying one if the battery health is showing at 85% or higher. And if you're unfamiliar with what battery health is, it measures the effectiveness of the battery currently in your device in relation to when it was new. And as with all lithium-ion batteries, the more you use your phone, the more the battery degrades over time. And you can find the battery health in settings, battery, and then battery health. And of course, while you can always get your phone's battery replaced, it's always best just to get a phone with a decently new battery installed from the outset, as you don't want to experience poor battery life and then have to pay Apple $69 to replace the battery in addition to the cost of just having recently bought a new phone. Next, I want to touch on the processing power and lifespan of the iPhone 11 models. And as I mentioned earlier, all three iPhone 11 models are powered by the Apple A13 A14 chip with 4 gigabytes of RAM, and they all run fantastic, super snappy and responsive. RAM management is good too. And something nice about all three of these iPhone 11 models is you're going to be receiving the same performance on all three of them because they have the exact same processor and the same amount of RAM. And something else I want to mention that makes not only the iPhone 11 models super compelling, but a lot of older iPhones super compelling, is Apple's great track record of supporting new software updates on older iPhones for very long periods of time. Take the iPhone 6s for example. This phone was released all the way back in 2015, yet it's still supported by the latest iOS version as of recording this video, being iOS 15. That's 7 years of software update support, which is unheard of in comparison to other Android phones. And in addition to just supporting all of these new iOS updates, the iPhone 6s has also proved to be super responsive and snappy on iOS 15 as well. Also, take the iPhone 5s and iPhone 6 as another example. The iPhone 5s received 6 years of software update support, and the iPhone 6 received 5 years of software update support. And of course, the past isn't always an indication of the future, but considering Apple's hardware and chips get more and more powerful with each new generation, it's safe to say that the iPhone 11 models will receive at least 3, probably 4, 5, even more years of software update support. And also, even after Apple stops supporting the latest iOS version on the iPhone 11 models in the very distant future, Apple is likely to continue to provide important security updates for these iPhones for even longer than they're supported by the latest iOS version. This is exactly what they're currently doing with the iPhone 5s and iPhone 6. Even though the highest iOS version these devices are able to update to is still iOS 12, Apple has continued to issue important security updates to these iPhones for even longer than the years that they were supported by the latest iOS version. The iPhone 5s and iPhone 6 have received minor software updates for security as recent as September 2021 with iOS 12.5.5, just to keep users of these older iPhones up to date with the latest security updates. So with all that being said, buying an iPhone that was released just a few years ago is a pretty good and safe investment. Next, let's talk build quality and durability. And as I said earlier, the build quality is great. They're all comfortable to hold and feel sturdy. They're all IP68 water, splash, and dust resistant. The standard iPhone 11 being rated for a maximum depth of 2 meters up to 30 minutes underwater, while the 2 Pro models are rated for a maximum of 4 meters up to 30 minutes underwater. Water resistance is without a doubt an area that iPhones have come a long way in over the last 5 years or so. All 3 iPhone 11 models have proven to be quite resilient in regards to water exposure. But as always, this is never something you want to put to the test, especially if you have or are planning on buying a used iPhone, as you never really know if the waterproof seal in the phone has been tampered with or removed due to third-party repair procedures. So always better safe than sorry. In terms of glass durability on the front and back, Apple touted the glass that they're using as the toughest glass in a smartphone when the iPhone 11 series iPhones were released. But once again, you never want to push your luck, so I'd always recommend using a case on your iPhone because, as always, glass is still glass. Next, I want to touch on display technology. This is one of the few more noticeable differentiators between the standard iPhone 11 and the 2 Pro models. The standard 6.1-inch iPhone 11 has an LCD display, while the 5.8-inch and 6.5-inch Pro models both have OLED displays, which is the better display technology of the two. Also, in addition to the standard iPhone 11 lacking an OLED display, another common complaint people have with the display on the standard iPhone 11 is that it lacks a 1080p resolution. Now, this being said, first of all, most people are going to have no idea what any of this means. Second of all, the standard iPhone 11 screen is perfectly fine by my standards and probably most other people's standards. And a few of the biggest improvements that OLED displays have over LCD displays is first of which being the fact that black colors show a lot darker and richer on OLED. Also, the viewing angles of the display are a little bit better. And when comparing an LCD display to an OLED display side by side, there is a difference, but in day-to-day life, it's really not going to be that big of a deal. Coming from somebody who's used pretty much every every iPhone, I have no issue with the standard iPhone 11's display. The only people that are really going to have an issue with this are super tech enthusiast individuals who just need to have the most cutting edge display technology. And the same thing could be said about the resolution being less than 1080p. It's just not that noticeable in day-to-day life. I mean, watching videos on the standard iPhone 11, they look great and super crisp, so no problems there. So for the average phone user, the displays on any of these three iPhones are great. But if you really want the absolute best display technology out of any of these three, the pros are definitely where it's at. And most important of all, let's talk price. I think the best deal on buying any of the iPhone 11 models is buying a used one. So at the time that I'm making this video, being early 2022, you can get a good used standard iPhone 11 model unlocked at 64 gigabytes for around the $400 mark, give or take $50 or so. And you can generally get a good used iPhone 11 Pro for around $500, give or take $50 or so. And in terms of the 11 Pro Max, around $600, give or take $50 or so. And as always, when buying a used iPhone, you want to make sure that you read the item description carefully. Of course, make sure the seller is legitimate, and if needed, ask the seller questions. Also, Apple does still sell the standard iPhone 11 brand new for $500. So if you're just not comfortable buying a used iPhone, that is an option. So at the end of the day, if you decide to buy any of these three iPhone 11 models, you'll be getting a great iPhone that holds up well in 2022 and will continue to hold up for years to come for a cheaper price than the latest two generations of iPhone lineups. So when it comes to picking one of these three for yourself, you really can't go wrong with any of them. The biggest decision factor for most people will probably come down to two things, being price and display size preference. If you want the overall most normal smartphone experience for the least amount of money, the standard iPhone 11 is probably your best bet. That being said, if you want a few extra luxurious features, or you really want either the biggest screen possible or a smaller screen than the standard iPhone 11, one of the Pros isn't a bad pick. But guys, that just about wraps it up for this video. If you guys are currently using an iPhone 11 model or you're considering buying one, let me know down below in the comments section which one you're currently using or which one you're considering buying. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.